to ensure that they don't do that. And in his words, he says, in one piece of mail, people were suggesting that Office had to work equally well with all browsers and that we shouldn't force Office users to use our browser. This is wrong, and I wanted to correct this. Another suggestion in this email was that we can't make our own unilateral extensions to HTML. I was going to say this is wrong, and also correct this. This is from I'm trying to get the year of this email. I think it's around 2000, and basically this whole piece of mail is about them trying to make extensions that basically bind Internet Explorer with Microsoft Office, which was an idea which was seen as quite appealing to Mr. Gates, because he would know that you have to get Windows to get Office, and you then get it to work with the browser, and then you put content on the web, which would be only displayable with Windows and Office on top of that. And this is just one email I have, which shows you that they do that. And I just put it quickly on the screen and just find a few passages. These, like I said, if you look at the documents, and we do have these documents, and I kind of know where to find them very quickly, you do have justifications and proofs for all kinds of so-called theories, or so-called, how should I put this, you have, well, in the previous show we talked about the fact that when a vendor recommends Windows, there is an actual reason they do that, and that's not the reason that they actually recommend that. It's actually more of an endorsement that's paid for it, and we have proof of this as well. We have things about backdoors, and we have things about them actively asking vendors to not support Linux, and then actually creating task forces whose task is basically to remove Linux from a certain shop. So this is just one of those things about the browser, is that you do know that they did very knowingly try to ensure it only works with Windows.
I mean, I think it goes without saying that Microsoft, or indeed any company that would be involved in this line of work, as it were, would engage in whatever tactics it could to ensure that it remained the market leader. Just sort of connected to that slightly, I think it shows that Microsoft's power, in certainly the hearts and minds of the public now, is waned considerably. It'll be ready by the time that the show notes come up. I was reading in one of the news groups, it was a link, and it was all about going back to the Windows Phone 7, but it was about a shop selling it, that the thing wasn't switched on and people were ignoring it, and it was implying that it's pretty commonplace in most shops. And I think the message that Microsoft sends out now isn't one of power. It's certainly not got the bark it used to have, and I think that's a good thing. I think we talk about these backdoors, and we've talked about all the sort of security issues of Windows, and I think now it's got to a stage where people are aware of these issues, or more aware than they were, and people are starting to ask the questions and not settling for what Microsoft tells them. And I would hope that this is a result of all the sort of people writing about the Microsoft FUD and exposing the propaganda and challenging everything that they read on the net, because that's one of the purposes of my site, certainly, is to challenge everything you read, including my own work, in order to ask the questions and find out the answers for yourself. Roy, if you don't mind, I would just like to throw in a couple of things that I picked up off the net. There hasn't been much news, but it's sort of relevant to what we've been talking about. If that's all right with Gordon as well, just a couple of news headlines, if I've got an agreement from both of you. The first one is a New York lawyer gets jail. The reason I bring this up is both myself and Roy, I can't speak for Gordon, but we've been the victims of people on our blogs nim shifting and changing their handles and using different aliases to try and harass and intimidate ourselves and people on our sites. This is a story about Raphael Gold, and I hope I pronounced that right. He's a lawyer who used online aliases in academic debates to support his father's point of view, who was a historian. And he's been found guilty of harassment of sorts in US court and been sentenced to 6 months in prison. Obviously, he'll be stripped of his legal status as well, I would assume. So that was just one nice little piece of news I thought I'd throw in, because we often see people NIM shifting, especially people promoting a pro-Microsoft viewpoint. I've exposed a couple on my blog before, and I think Roy's stuff as well. Roy, did you have any views on that? And if you saw that article?
I haven't. I remember something about Dead Sea Scrolls about 2 years ago. It was on the BBC. A person went to jail, and I think it was over a person defaming another person and maybe pretending to be something else, or pretending to be the deceased person, or like sometimes you have people trying to speak on behalf of someone else. That's one of the worst things I had seen, and actually had it done on me. So some people would write messages under my name, obviously trying to say very embarrassing or absurd things, and try to annoy people and have this attributed to myself. But in this case, it was also a historian of some sort. I think some dispute over. They try to set the consensus on certain subjects, and what they can do is to target the people who have the opposing opinion and try to either use sock puppets or to harass the person or to defame the person to have the opinion shifted a bit. So in this case, I suppose the person wanted to have his father recognized as the authority in his field or some sort. And it's kind of strange to me, why a person would go so far and then try and do that. But I wonder if you could go and kind of explain what experiences you had with people changing names in your site.
Yeah, I mean, it was about, I would say, it's approximately 5 months ago, and was documented at the time. It was a Microsoft MVP, and to save him embarrassment, because people could find out his name on my site anyway, he attempted to create a new alias and comment on my blog supporting his own point of view when he commented under his own name. So I had two would-be independent commenters on my blog, both supporting each other. Unfortunately, for this Microsoft MVP, he didn't realise that WordPress logs the IP address of everybody who makes a comment. Now, some of my clever trolls that comment on the site try to use an insecure proxy. Unfortunately, this Microsoft MVP didn't. Either he didn't know how to do that, or he didn't know anything about them, or maybe just forgot. And he ended up making an alias that was a different sex and a different name to his own. Writing a comment to support himself and forgetting that I was looking at the IP addresses, which were obviously both identical. So I exposed him for that, and the response I got back was something rather bizarre. He tried to suggest to me that he was doing it for my own good, and it was to expose me to the truth, because I wouldn't listen to the truth. And in order to do that, he had to do it under two different names.
Yeah, very small clue. This person is also one of the, I would say, the most prolific commenters in CNET. So when you look at CNET comments, bear in mind you can see all kinds of names of the same person and pushing Microsoft agenda. And this is a Microsoft MVP. I should point out.
Talking of CNET, I believe he had another alias under there, which was exposed by one of your regular commenters, Roy, and that was Chips, who exposed his other handle on CNET as well. And people that listen to this, like I say, I don't particularly want to name this person, because you can find out if you do the research, and it's certainly been documented and evidenced rather in depth. But this Microsoft MVP has made comments in the past, such as, "It's a shame Michael Jackson didn't live to see Windows 7. He also calls Internet Explorer sexy. I think we can sort of gather which way he goes in regards to Microsoft promotion. He's rather obvious, which makes him rather easy to spot, which is why his aliases are so easy to identify. But this is one example that we know of. I also exposed about a year ago, it was a person on Twitter, and the identity of this person we never found out. But it's assumed the name of a stock market education training firm. They train people in how to play the stock market, I assume. But they'd assumed the name of that company, and they were promoting Microsoft stock on Twitter. Now, I challenged them over this, and ended up getting contact from the actual company that did own the name legitimately, that was being used unlawfully. It got banned from Twitter, and I got a thank you note and even offer of a reward from the company concerned. Off the top of my head, I cannot remember what that company name was, but if you search my blog, I did document that at the time as well. But again, it shows you what level some people are willing to go to promote an opinion. It's certainly not a level of
Have
myself
a
or...
very
Sorry.
systematic, should say, any person using Twitter as opposed to Identica, which is still cleaner, I assume maybe half the accounts, maybe those less visible there, would be some kind of a